Welcome back, my friends, to the D-Rate the Hate podcast. I am your host, Wilk Wilkinson, your blue-collar sage, calming outrage and helping to navigate a world divided by fog and those who would spread that fear, outrage, and grievance. Each week, I'm sharing stories from my path and using the power of conversation and collaboration with my many great guests. Together, we chart a course toward understanding, bridging divides, and fostering a community where wisdom prevails over discord. Friends, it really is about bettering the world one attitude at a time. We did not create the hate, but together we can derate the hate. The only good thing about a bad attitude is we have the ability as individuals to change it. For me, it starts with gratitude and personal accountability. I am so incredibly grateful that you have taken the time to join me for another powerful DTH episode. Please remember to subscribe and share the DTH podcast with your network of friends. If you would like to support the show, check out the Support Us page on the D-Rate the Hate website. With that, my friends, let's get to it. Eli Steele is an award-winning filmmaker, and What Killed Michael Brown marks his first professional collaboration with his father, Shelby Steele. A graduate of Claremont McKenna College and Pepperdine University's School of Public Policy, Steele's career highlights include How Jack Became Black, What's Bugging Seth, winner of 10 film festivals, and Katrina, an MTV network pilot which won him the Breakthrough Filmmakers Award. Steele has written for publications ranging from the LA Times to Commentary Magazine. In this conversation, Eli and I discuss his journey into filmmaking and the impact of film on his life. He shares the inspiration behind his documentary, What Killed Michael Brown, and the importance of presenting facts in a sea of narratives. We delve into the dangers of oversimplification and identity politics, emphasizing the need to recognize our common humanity. We touch heavily on the division in America, highlighting the importance of engaging in conversations to break down walls of ignorance. The conversation explores the themes of how some express gratitude for opportunities while others take opportunities for granted. American cliches of living up to the creed and reinventing American principles if American principles were ever to be lost here. With that, my friends, this is an incredible conversation with my friend Eli Steele that you are not going to want to miss. Stay tuned, and here we go. Eli Steele, thank you for joining me on the D-Rate the Hate podcast, man. I'm so excited for this conversation. I've been looking forward to it. So great to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Thank you so much, man. I've been very inspired by the work that you've done. For anybody who's not familiar with Eli, he has a great catalog, a great body of work when it comes to filmmaking. These independent films. Those maybe not or completely familiar with Eli, may be familiar with Eli's dad, Shelby Steele. So Eli Steele, Man of Steel Productions, just some incredible work. So I want to talk about this a little bit, Eli. What got you started in the filmmaking business, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some of these films that you've done because, like I said, incredible work when it comes to the race relations and just bringing to light things that maybe some people don't normally see when it comes to the background in some of these hot topic racial issues.
Yeah, it's ironic that I'm in the film business because I was born profoundly deaf in 1974. So technology like closed captioning or even good hearing aids were not around. So when my parents would take me to the movies, especially like a Woody Allen movie, with just talking, I would just fall asleep. I had like no desire to be part of it. I mean, this was just something that was not within my realm of possibility. However, I love taking pictures, and so I would just take pictures everywhere, and people kept saying, as a young kid, 8, 9 years old, oh, you have a good eye. And I was like, okay, and so forth. And then one day my mother came home and she said, there's a new movie that has subtitles. It's a boring film. And we should go downtown and we should see this film. And it was My Life as a Dog. And I don't know if you've seen that film.
My Life as a Dog?
Yeah, My Life as a Dog by
Okay.
Lasty Hallstrom. Yeah, and so if you've seen the film, I mean, I saw the film when I was maybe 13 years old. And it just happens to be my favorite film. I mean, it's just happy to be the one. But being part of the audience, being part of that experience, that was just magical. I mean, you should be able to read the words, laugh along with the people, feel the emotion. It was so, I get, for some reason, seeing my first film at the age of 13, I think probably had a bigger impact upon me. And I said, I want to do something like that. And yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I mean, being somebody who's deaf, and then for the first time being able to experience the same kind of things that other people experience in I guess the arena of film, and just finally being able to feel the way others feel when they're watching a movie. I mean, it's got to be pretty exhilarating, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just should be one with the audience, because I'm always on outside of the audience. I mean, you go to music, you go to comedy clubs, you're always kind of behind. So I think just being part of the audience really, I think it shows the power of cinema. But not only that, but also the power of delivery a compelling message. I mean, My Life as a Dog is a great film because the boy's mother had cancer, and he thinks about this dog that the Russian sent out to outer space. He thinks, well, my life is bad. But it's not as bad as that dog, and, who's just hurling through space, poor dog. And so I think, it's just all of that, just the possibility that you should do life messages. You have to necessarily be funny. And so I think that's where I look to film too as a way to get our message, a story. And so even if I'm doing something that is political or race-based or something, it has to have a story. And that's the most important thing, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so that takes me into kind of the obviously the work, people who know your father, Shelby Steele, he's been an activist and worked in the space of race relations, racialization, things for several decades now, right? And then now you've got you who had a knack for taking pictures as a young man, and then fell in love with the idea of cinema for presenting a message, and then now have been working, both on your own and with your father now for several years, right? Making films, and I know one of the ones that stood out to me right away, Eli, is the What Killed Michael Brown. That was a back in 2000, I think it was 2014, right? It was a turning point in the incident was 2014, but it was a monumental time in our country. And then you make this film called What Killed Michael Brown, when truth becomes a lie and when lie becomes a truth. And that's one that you made with your father. Is that correct?
Yes.
And obviously, I mean, I know the inspiration for the film was, the killing of Michael Brown. Tell me what might surprise people about this film. It's a documentary about it, but it comes at it from a bit of a different angle. And so talk to me about that film and how you decided to make that one. What prompted you to make that film, Eli?
I think it was, I was with my father during the whole, for most of the unrest, that's what they called it, during 2014, from August until November when they decided not to indict the officer. So you had about, that period, about several months. And I remember, being, first you go through the emotion, go, oh, wow, dang, there's no video, and they show you here, just going down in the middle of the street, you see the body, and obviously Twitter going nuts over this. I mean, I think it was one of the most viral incidents. I mean, you have the Palestinian territories, you have France, you had everybody jumping on it. It became a worldwide event so quickly. But we didn't have the back. We still didn't know exactly what happened. And I think that was what fascinated my father and I. We thought some of these stories shifty. And we kept saying, let's wait for these autopsy reports. Let's wait for more findings to come forth. And then this autopsy report came out, and they said, no, he was not shot in the back. They showed most of the bullets had gone into the front. I think maybe one or two exited or something like that. There was like a double wound, but everything was in the front. And at that moment, the narrative did not change. So you're sitting there going that, okay, we're getting back. The bats are going this way, but the narrative is now going this way. Half of America going this way, the other half of America going this way, and they never came together.
Right.
And that for us was stunning. I mean, with Trayvon Martin, there was much more confusion. Again, another incident that was not recorded. But America was sort of figuring out the situation. And it was sort of the birth of Black Lives Matter. That was sort of the beginning. And then with Ferguson, you saw force. So what was that force? Where did it come from? How can we, rational Americans who are supposed to look at the facts, how can our country completely divide? And so that for us was that was the real positive. And we saw some other documentaries coming out. I think there was about 3 or 4 at that point. I think 4 at that point. And they all told the story of Dorian Johnson, who was sort of the hands up, don't shoot guy.
The hands up, don't shoot.
Yeah, so you have one guy who pushed that narrative with another local activist named Shaheen. If I remember his name correctly, Shaheen. Anthony Shaheen, I think. Shaheen claimed that he was the one that gave the narrative to Dorian Johnson. Shaheen was on the scene immediately somehow. It's not a big community. I mean, you could get anywhere in 5 minutes. He just happened to get there, and then Dorian Johnson, who had disappeared right after the shooting, came back out. And that's where you see the hand of the shoot narrative. We show that in the film. And so I think a lot of it was just sort of fit my father's theme of like the poet is truth. And then how something that sort of, I mean, when you see a dead body, especially a black body, and in a white town with a white police sheriff, a white Republican mayor, the
optics look pretty bad, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then the Sherman Shepherds, all of that. I mean, they made mistake after mistake in terms of optics. But was that the truth? And so the reason why we made the film was because if we didn't make it, then who else didn't make it? And I knew that my father, with his ideas, with his work, and the fact that he happened to spend time in that area. I mean, he 3 or 4 years of his life in that area. In fact, if they had not left that area, I would have been born there. So that's how close, that's how long they were in that area. And so that gave him the authority in a way to speak from a local perspective as well.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, how the narrative was going one way and the facts were going another. because it happens a lot nowadays, right? I mean, it's one of those things that we see so often is, whether it be an opportunist politician or somebody in the media or maybe just some grievance grifter, outrage entrepreneur online, they, facts be damned. They know that they're getting a certain amount of attention from the narrative itself, and then the narrative takes on its own life. Facts be damned. And so that's why I think the work that you're doing, Eli, is so incredibly important, because a lot of it is just, I mean, it brings truth in a sea of lies. It shows people, okay, maybe what I'm being told by those who are trying to, whether it be profit off clicks or ratings or votes, maybe what I'm receiving here is not the actual story. So, I've gone through a number of the films that you've made, Eli, and it really, the thing that I think is beautiful about it is it's not trying to necessarily, sway anybody's bias in any one direction. It's just laying out the facts. And facts are what we're so short on these days in so many ways, because the facts don't always match the narrative, and the narrative quite often drowns out the facts.
Exactly. And I shouldn't have a job. I mean, it shouldn't be that simple where you just show the facts. I mean, the facts are boring, but it just shows you how far away the country is moving. And part of that has, obviously to do with the fact that we, for better or worse, we're the one that is tasked with repairing all the damage that people that came before us did.
That's right. That's right.
Centuries of oppression, all of that. And here we are, and we have a lot of collateral damage. And we also failed in many ways to redeem the country for various reasons, whether you want to blame post-disease liberalism, the culture of dependency, all of that. And so I think what's interesting, though, is that it's not necessarily just the fact. And I think I did not go into the in what killed Michael Brown, but in my current work is the fact that you start shifting morality. Because if you start attaching morality to a narrative, then you've left the Judeo-Christian morality.
Sure.
Because Judeo-Christian morality is really based on the American principles, which we have not always lived up to, based on the principles. And those principles are heavily grounded on fact. Whereas our whole criminal justice system is based on that. That's why the lady justice is blind.
Yeah,
it's all about finding. Yeah, and so when you shift away from the morality to a morality that's governed by a narrative, where you say, okay, I must believe you because you are a minority. I must believe in women. I mean, all these believe,
sure,
rather than no. And so we shift in morality, and that was very, very dangerous, because if you live in the morality of Eric Holder, which became Mr. Ferguson, and obviously could not find evidence of racism to charge the officer, he created this systemic racism narrative. That, in my opinion, it's shaky. I mean, it's a shaky narrative. But, okay, so now we have a morality that's based on his charge of systemic racism, which then means I must look at everything as systemic. The city of Ferguson, everything is rotten, it's corrupted. We have to tear it down. Well, that's a very powerful thing. I mean, that's a different kind of being than somebody like me, or to be like, okay, well, okay, but where is the, okay, well, but too many black people are being punished. Okay, do we have to tear it down and build what?
Right. I
And
mean,
so
what's
that's
the
what,
alternative? Yeah. I mean, what's the alternative, right? I mean, so I love that. I love that thought process. I mean, a morality shift based on a narrative, and when it's a morality shift based on a false narrative, that's horrific, right? I mean,
yeah,
morality should be morality. It shouldn't shift based on the narrative, and everybody should be frightened about that concept, right? That is something that we cannot do because we've seen over history how a narrative can shift based on the power players and the people who want that narrative to shift. I mean, hell, we saw it in Nazi Germany in the early 20th century. You know, he was able to shift the narrative in a horrific fashion, and if people can all of a sudden morally justify the extermination of certain people because their morality shifted based on a narrative, well, now we are in nightmare scenario. That's nightmare territory, right? I mean, that is Holocaust territory. That's a horrible thing. You know, one of the things, Eli, that stood out to me was a quote, and I don't know if it's a quote from you or a quote from your father, but it was a quote that I had not heard before, and I really like it, and I want you to talk a little bit about it. It says, America's original sin is not slavery; it is simply the use of race as a means for power, and that means a lot to me, and it stands out to me because I want to tie it back to what you're saying, this morality shift based on a narrative, because what we're seeing a lot today, Eli, is a narrative that all these people, those people, those people in that bucket, they're all racist, or those people in that bucket, they're all oppressed, things like that. So while I agree with this statement, America's original sin is not slavery, it is simply the use of race as a means for power. We find ourselves today, in my opinion, in my experience, we find ourselves in a situation today where it's not race that's used as a position for power today, but race is used as a position for grievance today. And I think it's nearly as ugly. So talk to me a little bit about that. Give me your thoughts on that, Eli.
yes, because slavery is not original to America. So that's
Right.
sort of, yeah, we talk about that. I mean, if you read Thomas Doyle or countless other books, even the Bible. So,
Yeah.
it's not original to us. But, the fact that, we had Bacon's Rebellion, which was like 1520 or 1540. It's in my How Jack Became Black
Mm-hmm.
documentary. But what's fascinating about that was you had the underclass. There's all mixed. I mean, you had the first Americans were literally interracially married. They were having, relations with one another. Race was not really a thing. They were poor. They were stuffy.
Sure.
I mean, and they did not like working for these rich English aristocrats. So they
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
rebelled. I'll give you a very short version. They rebelled it. And afterwards, they basically said, we're going to divide you by race. So you poor man, you poor white man, are the same as us. You're just as good as us because of your white skin. And they push everybody else to the other side. So we literally went from a class-based society into a race-based society. And I think shortly after that, we had the first version of the one drop of black blood rule. And all of this was about power. All of this was about consolidating, keeping the white man on top and keeping the white woman pure. And that was a symbol of superiority, was that the white woman would be pure and superior.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so that was the nobility, we're keeping this white woman superior. I mean, don't just think about that, like how that was the morality in a way,
Sure.
was that the
Sure.
white skin, yeah. So these poor oversteer had the same esteem as the owner of the plantation of the big house. So my point is that I'm just saying that's at the beginning, but if you look throughout history, it's the same story playing over and over. I mean, it's just countless of them. I mean, the way even banning interracial marriage, all of that. It was all about divide the earth. Then the strategy was that in the civil rights movement, yes, there are many bastions of the civil rights movement, but in the one that my family comes from, the main objective was race is poison. Race is, we need to get rid of the black box. We need to get rid of the white box because they're live. The black box is that we are inferior. The white box is that they are superior. Get rid of that.
Yeah.
Get rid of that power structure. And so that's what they were marching for. But that kind of power was too irresistible to many Americans. And now today we had almost a flip. We now have the people of color on this side using race as a means to power.
Right.
And and so it's a revenge. I mean, a way that because, or do they really believe that that's the way to redeem the country is by racially engineering our diversity, all of that. So that's why we have this blow up over Harvard and Claudine Gay.
Claudine Gay.
I didn't know much about her. Okay, she is the black president of Harvard. Okay, big deal, whatever. But then you find out that she had written 11 papers. You see her testimony before Congress, where, again, maybe her morality was different than my morality. I was like, well, why are you having such a hard time condemning it?
Why can't you condemn the idea that there's people out there that want to wipe out an entire group of, the plagiarism is bad enough, but then not being able to condemn the idea of exterminating a certain group of people based, good grief. I mean, aren't we past that at this point?
Yeah, or apply I think people say, oh, it's racism and all of that. No, it's bull. That's bull. It's about you are treating people differently. Because we know if it was another group of color, there would be assaulted on campus. There was, maybe not physically assaulted, but I mean, there was some pretty close incident. I mean, there was some incidents of touching and stuff like that. But the point is, we live in a time where we're jumped through every hoop. If there's one hint of a microaggression, oh my God, did that blonde woman touch that black guy's hair? Shut down the campus. Everybody got to go to racial sensitivity training. But when you have people over here, over here, which you have like a mob of about 10 students going after a Jew on campus. And I don't know what they would do, hold their white sheet and just harass a Jew. That's not a microaggression. I mean, that's anti-Semitism, and
that's pretty damn aggressive, right? Yeah, that's not micro anything. It's ugly.
And she could have said, all she had to do was just say that that's absolutely wrong. And, and just, stand up for fairness for all Americans. And I think that points to the bigger problem, because when we use race the original standards that we use race as a means to power. When we do that, we make ourselves a race. And that's why I see more white people saying, well, I'm not ashamed of being white. And you just lost. That's exactly what they want you to do. They want you to think of yourself as the right guy.
Exactly. They can mark up a point on their side of the chalkboard now because you have just played into their narrative. You played their hand. They just won that one.
Exactly. And what that does is it divorces us from the American identity. And that's the whole game. So as long as we're kept in race, gender, or other immutable characteristics, we're not American.
Right.
American identity means that you are an American. You live in some of the most extreme situations of inequality. Life is
Mm-hmm.
unfair. But guess what? You have possibilities, you have opportunity. I mean, people don't really understand the freedom we have. Like I keep telling my girlfriend, we're not married, but we can go out. We can do anything we want. There are no restrictions upon us as an unmarried couple. In other
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
nations, we would not have that freedom.
Right.
She would
Right.
probably be treated, she would probably suffer more punishment than I did if we were
Sure.
to, because I'm a male or something like that. So we
Yep.
live in a
Yep.
country of enormous freedom, and so we use race as a means of power. You are killing that freedom. You're making
That's right.
everybody have to deal with race. And so that's what the country is doing right now. The country is not living in freedom. The country is right now trying to it's being hijacked by those that want to live in this world of race, in this world of immutable characteristics, and to tear down the country with offering us no plan forward. It's stunning. It's stunning, and I think what's even more stunning is how few of us really recognize that we're not
Right.
panicked. We're not panicked, but then again, that's the American thing. What we call the sleepy dragon. Like
The
like
sleeping
it takes
dragon.
us a long time to wake up and go to war. We did that with
Yeah.
World War One, World War Two. We were sleeping, and then finally
Yep.
we woke up. And then when we woke up with a vengeance. I mean,
Yep.
the build up of World War II was amazing. He's taking the manufacturing planes, all that. My point though is race though is much more dangerous. It can
Yes.
happen without us seeing it and people realize it. They have all the power. They are in charge of education. They're in charge of politics, everything.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
This identitarian mindset these days, it's so ugly. It's just so ugly because what it does is it erases us, Eli, as individuals. And once we are robbed of our individualism, we become invisible, and when we become invisible, we start to get angry, right? There's so much, and then I was just having a conversation recently with a group of incredible people that are very of a pro-human mindset, right? There will be an organization coming out or launching soon called the Pro-Human Foundation, and while I love my American identity, I believe that's absolutely beautiful. I'm proud to be an American. I'm a veteran. I love the United States of America. I can't imagine living anywhere else. I love the idea of being a human being and us all being part of one human race even more, right? Because we all, out of every human being on this planet, the one thing that we share is our common humanity. And at some point we have to realize that there are so many different boxes that we can be placed in, right? There are the haves and the have-nots. There's the blacks and the whites, and then there's the people of color that, like you talk about in How Jack Became Black. Well, how far do we want to go? I mean, you've got people who, okay, part Mexican, part Guatemalan, part Native American, part black. How many different boxes do we want to try and put somebody in before it gets to the point of ridiculousness? I mean, I think putting people in boxes is ridiculousness, and I love the idea of just going to our common humanity and saying, you know what, enough with the boxes, enough with the labels. Let's just have a conversation, just you and me, and just real, you're a human being. I'm a human being. There's going to be things that we love about each other. There's going to be things that we don't love about each other. But as long as we look for that common humanity in all of us, we can get through so many different things. And realize that we do have more in common than what separates us. And I think it's just so important that people quit looking for or buying into those those identitarian grievance grifters that are trying to keep us separated.
Yes. Because I mean, being born to a black father, a Jewish mother, growing up in the Bay Area. I mean, I had a friend that was blonde and blue-eyed, but his mom was Filipino. You just would never know. I had another friend that was Italian, Chinese. You didn't even know where he was. I mean, it was just
Right.
So my point was that we just, so from that young age, it was very clear and obvious that, okay, you're Chinese and Italian, you like noodles? I mean, you make sure that you find out, stuff like that. But it was just, out of all those years, of all those things that we did together, maybe 1 hour? Did we ever spend talking about that stuff? Maybe 1 hour.
Right.
The
Yeah,
rest
I
of
mean,
it was
it's a non-thing.
exactly, and so that's why I think, because I know that, because when people tell me, okay, you are what society sees you as, that's what the left says. Okay, fine. So you're saying that I'm not going to have the experience of a black man, but what you really mean is I'm not going to have the experience of a black man who is stuck for racism, who has been pulled over by the police. So I'm sitting there going like this, do you realize that you're telling me that she be black? It should be a victim. That's what you're saying. I really know
to be a victim.
Black man. Yeah. Okay, well, but you know what? I've almost been shot by the police twice. Okay, so what do you want to do with that information? I know what it's like. Even I got pulled over not too long ago. Even I got a little nervous. It's just because I had the gun pulled on me twice, and so the point though is that just profiling people in a way, it doesn't give you any information. In fact, it just negates me. Basically, that's what you're saying. You're white. Your skin is white. You don't matter. Get out of the way. You're a white supremacist. Okay, but if you were to actually see my mindset, if you could go into my mindset, you're not going to see what you think is there. And so that's the point, is that all of this stuff just prevents us from getting closer to one another. It prevents us from having that intimacy. It's a very lazy way of living, because hardest thing is to get to know somebody. It's hard to trust people. So I don't want to trust you because we both agree on the value of certain color. So that's what I'm trusting on the ideological ground. So you're operating on ideology. You're operating on race, and you're telling me you have human relation on that level. That's not human relation. Human relation is a free fall. In anarchy, it's just, okay, so who are you? What do you think about this? Oh, you're pro-life, I'm pro-choice. Screw you. That's the end of it. You're the scum of the earth. But if I guess you know you as a person, and we have all of these things in common, but that one thing is different, then you know what I mean? Coming to you, I mean, say, okay, Wilk, why are you this way? Why do you believe what you believe? You go, okay. And then I guess you understand the view, and then what it does, it complicates my view. I can't be judgmental because I know you and your example of why you are this way, some event happened to you in life, or some statistics that you read. And I go, yeah, that makes sense. A lot of times we have to make a choice. Right now we're doing that with the war over Hamas and Israel. And it's the same thing where you have to make a choice. It's horrific what happened on October 7th. It's horrific the Palestinians are being killed. I mean, it's horrific. But you have to make a choice. But you should understand, but it does not negate understanding. However, if you reduce everything to Israel is bad, Hamas is good, that's what we have today. Again, another example of a narrative taking over where Hamas are now freedom fighters.
A narrative shifting people's morality.
Yeah, exactly. and
Yeah.
that's
No,
dangerous.
and I think the word that I heard recently that makes a lot of sense for me when when thinking about what you're talking about there, Eli, is oversimplification, right? People try to oversimplify something, and when they do that, and I don't care if it's saying, okay, all whites are a monolith and all whites are oppressors, and all blacks are a monolith and blacks are oppressors, and all gays are a monolith and gays or whatever. They just keep on putting people in these buckets, right? And then assuming that all of those people think the same way and ascribe to the same morality based on whatever narrative. What it does is it just, like I said, going back to what I said earlier, it takes away that person's individuality. It oversimplifies, and that to me is every bit as ugly as any other kind of racism or ism that you want to place upon somebody, because when you rob people of that ability to, and this is where the conversation comes in, right? Because when you rob people of that ability to prove you wrong as to what you're believing, kind of going to what you're saying, right? What is it about your life experience that makes you believe X, Y, Z? It's breaking down that wall of ignorance and realizing that not everybody is what you believe they are when you first look at them. In fact, most people aren't what you believe they are when you first look at them. And if you refuse to have the conversation or even engage in that, what is it about your life experience that makes you believe this? You're robbing yourself of an opportunity to really know who that person is, what makes them tick, why they believe what they believe. And I think that is doing yourself the biggest disservice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I hate to be judgmental, but if you are going to be somebody that push value in in ideology over the human race or something, you gotta have either you are ignorant or
Mm-hmm.
you have the ulterior motives, because that's the gift of America. The gift of America is that you should be your own person, you should be your own individual. But my
Mm-hmm.
father makes the point, and he states that the big problem for Black people, especially in the underclass, is freedom. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a very profound point because you come out of 4 centuries of oppression. Even in the late 1960s, Blacks were still sharecropping on the very land
Mm-hmm.
that their ancestors were slaves. They
Yep.
had profound fear. They really believed they were free. And you can't blame them because that's all they've ever known. That's all they've ever been told. That's all they've ever got threat. Like if you step out, they've got
Mm-hmm.
threat, lose their job, their livelihood. And then you tell them you're free. Well, I take that same argument and I apply that to American. I think that I use the example of Cradle Catholic. It's a friend. I met the guy, and he married a Catholic, and he was not a Catholic, but he had to go through the whole conversion process to become a Catholic. And he realized that he knew more about the religion than people that had been born into it. They were
Mm-hmm.
not. They didn't go through that same process. They didn't earn it. They were just born into it. And so
Yep.
I think a lot of us were born into freedom. It's like water. We should swim. We don't even notice. We're like fish in water. We don't even know it's we're in water. It's just all we know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why a lot of times you get in the Uber or somebody and you have somebody from another country and live in Sherman Oaks. So right up here, this way is mostly immigrant. That way, very wealthy people, a lot of Hollywood people. And this is in Los Angeles. And so I can tell you if I go in the direction of the immigrant, it's more pro-freedom. It's more
Yeah.
pro-American. It really is. I mean, they all want to know is how can my son or my kid become a police officer? Because I hear that you become a police officer, you work for 20 something years, you get a full pension.
Right.
And they're blown, and then you get another job. And you've got one job paying you, and you're working another job. And so they're working at the bus stop. That's why LAPD is now something like, which is more than 50% Hispanic. Because they realize that's the pathway to upward mobility. But you get that shit. And so my point is that freedom is a very scary thing for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people either don't have faith in their ability or in their talent, so they regress towards ways. And I think that's where the country is really divided over. It's those people that want to live in freedom and those that don't.
Yep.
That's why you see the administrative state. You see somebody like Claudine Gay get up there, and that's why it's offensive, because you go, oh my God, you are the president of Harvard, the most intellectually rigorous university. I mean, come on, it's a symbol of our pride and joy in America. And you wrote, 11 papers? Okay, 11 papers, that's questionable, but then you apparently plagiarize. Right. And so it offends the rest of us who are, and I wish I could make, if you offer me $900,000 a year, like she got, I would be very tempted, because it takes away a lot of the uncertainty in my life. Sometimes I don't know when my next check is coming, when my next film coming. How long did it take to make this film? Do I have enough money to stretch out to get the film done? All of these things. And so living in freedom is challenging. It's not easy. You gamble on yourself. But this is the country where you should become somebody.
Absolutely.
And we don't like people become somebody because of race or some immutable characteristics. Like, what's your name? Dylan Mulvaney, the transgender, the trans woman.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Dylan. So, okay, you should do whatever you want. But all of a sudden, you're famous because of something you did on the outside.
Right.
That's what my main problem with. You should do whatever you want. You have the freedom to do whatever you want. But then, okay, we reward somebody for a physical thing.
Yeah. The idea that there are certain people, like you said, they're born into it, and they almost take it for granted and don't realize, how good they've got it. And then there's immigrants that have come to this country, and they're the most, the proudest and the most grateful for the opportunities that they're able to take advantage of here. And then, and I've known so many over the course of my time. I mean, I lived in Orlando, Florida for several years. That's a very, very diverse city, and people from all over the world, and not only people that live there from all over the world, but then, obviously being the tourist capital of the world, I drove cab there for a number of years, and would have conversations with people from every walk of life, every continent, every country, sometimes all within the same week. and just the things that I would hear and the experiences that people would share with me, doing that. And, the one thing that I would hear over and over and over again, Eli, from people from other places around the world is how beautiful this country was, and how much they loved the idea of freedom, and how much they wished they could do in their country the kind of things that they do here. So I love, talking about that opportunity, and it bothers me so much when people that are born here and have so much opportunity just kind of throw it away, or either throw it away or take it for granted. So, man, I tell you what, this conversation could go on and on and on. Your mission and my mission, Eli, are so closely aligned. We talk about a lot of the same things. I encourage everybody, if you're not following Eli Steele on Twitter, the kind of content that you put out, Eli, is you're truly a thought leader in our time, and the things that you're bringing up are things that a lot of people are afraid to talk about. But you're bringing it out there, you're putting it out there for people, and it really makes people think. I mean, I love that, and then that along with your documentaries and the things that you write. I know you've written a number of columns in various different publications and things. So, man, you're awesome. Keep up doing what you're doing. A few parting words from you to the DTH listeners, Eli, and then we'll wrap up here for today. But I'm looking forward to certainly a long and collaborative relationship between Eli Steele and the Derate the Hate podcast for sure.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a true pleasure to talk to you. Yeah, I mean, I think we covered a lot in this. I mean, I really don't have anything to kind of wrap up other than the American cliches, which is, I mean, they should come back. I mean, the reason why the cliches is because they are the truth. And I think that's a big reason. I think people forget that the biggest battle of the civil rights movement for many people was to finally put the words of Thomas Jefferson, all of the founding fathers, the Federalist Papers, all of that, put that in instinct. We're finally going to live up to that creed that we're all created equal, that we're all the same under the law. And the one thing that had caused us to betray that, and we've only had a very small period of that pure freedom, maybe the 60s, 70s, maybe to the 80s, that small period. And then we picked up race again. Yeah. And so we're trying to get back to that spot where we can, and you know what? Our life may be short, but I'm hopeful that the life of the country will be long. And if so, this is a big bottom that we're going through, but I think we should get back to the American principle, because if the country goes down, we're going to have to reinvent it, because the principles are American, but they're universal.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we let it all go here, Eli, there's no place left to go. Right. So even if it falls by the wayside, we're going to have to reinvent it. That's a fantastic way to put it. So, your work is incredible. I encourage everybody to check it out. Man of Steel, manofsteelproductions.com. Everything we talked about here, will be in the show notes. And gotta check out Eli's documentaries. Like I said, incredible catalog of work, and it's been a real pleasure, my friend. I look forward to more.
Thank you, and thank you so much for having me. Awesome.
Friends, if there's anything in this episode that provided exceptional value to you, please make sure to hit that share button. Share it with your friends, share it far and wide. And of course, if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe right from our website so you can get the Derate the Hate podcast sent to your email inbox every week. So this is Wilk wrapping up for the week, saying get out there, be kind to one another, be grateful for everything that you've got, and remember, it's up to you to make each and every day the day that you want it to be. If there is something that you would like to share with me, you can catch me on most social media platforms, or you can email me directly, wilk@wilksworld.com. With that, my friends, I am going to back on out of here, and we will catch you next week. Take care.